Hold order. Dick, do we have Taiwanese here? Not yet. All right, everybody, we don't have a whole lot of business. We're waiting on a couple House votes that are forthcoming that we're going to have. We will start. So for those of you that went to the Forest Health meeting this morning, or right after lunch, we have Jim Nyman, who is the owner of the sawmill in my hometown of Hewlett, who most of you that have been in here a while know what kind of fighting we do over the Black Hills National Forest. You've all graciously helped us work on a rewrite of the plan, and I'm going to ask Jim to come up and give us a few words, tell us what he does, and tell us what's happening in the forest. Come on up here, Jim. Jim is third, fourth generation, Jim? Here. So whatever generation he tells you, his daughter Sonia is right there. Sean, if you want to come up, you can sit in the chair here while he talks, give him his support. So, Jim, with that, we're going to give you the mic and turn you loose.
Am I on? Do I need to push
You're
anything?
on.
Sounds like I'm
you're
good.
Rolling.
President Driscoll, appreciate it. Also, best friend Ogden, it's been fun working with you over the decades. Thank you for your support, and thanks to all the Senate that you've provided over the years for both agriculture, including the timber industry. We have an agricultural product, timber. It's just a 50 to 150 year crop instead of an annual, or like alfalfa from our perspective. But a lot is engaged there. But I'll step back and give a little history on myself. I am a third generation in the forest products business on my dad's side. On my mother's side, I'm a fifth generation. We have part of the original ranch. Ogden and I go back and forth to say who got here first. I think he did, but sometimes I tell him a different story. When the cattle came up in the 1800s from Texas. Ironically, my mother's side was the other side of the Bush family out of Texas, another brother that came from England that was on the Democratic side. So I had lessons on two sides growing up as a kid. So my daughter is now the fourth generation in our business with my son, Marcus. Some of you might have met my son, Marcus. He's a major in the National Guard here, and I think is just getting a chance to move up. So he'll be down spending all of next week here in Cheyenne. My dad is 93, and I talk to him about once or twice a week. He's still active, but keeps pushing. So we have the sawmill in Hewlett and a ranch in Hewlett, and to help diversify our community, we put the golf course in Hewlett when we watched what the spotted owl done out west to a number of sawmills, and devastating, their unemployment going to 70%, all the social issues. A couple of them had a little bit different character, and they had a golf course and an airport. So that stimulated my dad to say, son, I don't know how the heck you're gonna do it. He didn't use heck. But you need to build a golf course and an airport in Hewlett and diversify. And it's been a blessing for us to help recruit and retain employees along with what it's done to help our small community. But from that being our original mill in our headquarters, we also have a mill in Spearfish. Unfortunately, what's going on in the Black Hills, we had a mill in Hill City, South Dakota, we shut down 2 years ago. In the meantime, we are also operating a mill in Montrose, Colorado, and our latest acquisition was 2 years ago in Gilcrest. Now, I can't explain this, and I'll let you let your own mind why we have two our states that were struggling like crazy to survive in the timber business, and we got two blue states and we're not having so much trouble. So you can make your own conclusions to that scenario of what in the heck's going on. Our Hewlett mill, we're in the middle. We just reduced into 1st of February to one shift. Ponderosa Pine mills don't survive very long if they stay on one shift. So we are the pilot project with the U.S. Forest Service. We're the initial guinea pig. We've already stuck in between $1.5 and $2 million into we're headed towards 30-some rail cars. We've had 9 going for 9 months, railing wood out of Oregon, as some of you have heard this morning, transporting logs on our nickel to test and create this pilot project between the National Wild Turkey and the U.S. Forest Service. National Wild Turkey got a $50 million, and some of the other NGOs got some big grants. So I think Chief Moore, Randy Moore, he doesn't put it in these words, so I'm a little more blunt, but he recognizes how broke the system is and how if you focus on the wildlife side, that if you focus on wildlife and water, I would include him to have ranching in that for grazing, but he focuses on wildlife and water, and you will figure out how to take care. Turkeys cannot survive in dense forest. Elk cannot survive in dense forest. Hardly any of the species do. So from our end, this pilot project that then will be expanded. We're railing out of California right now, bringing it up through our Gilcrest mill, debarking it to make sure we don't have any bug issues that we're transporting insects from California to here, bringing it into Upton, Wyoming to the site there, then transporting it over to Hewlett. We're also looking at other regions, working with Jackie Buchanan on the Front Range. There's no sawmills. We have the only major mill in Colorado, and we can't get enough to run 2 shifts there. So can we bring wood off the Front Range? Can we bring out of Region 1, the eastern part of Montana? Can we bring wood out of New Mexico or Arizona, or the west side of Wyoming, or particularly Utah? Each and every state has a certain amount of ponderosa. So our Hewlett mill, we've specialized for 30 years. We're the #1 supplier to Pella Window. If you have a Pella Window, you have a good chance the wood came from Hewlett, a very good chance. We ship them 40 to 60 semi-loads a month, so that's a lot of windows when you look at semi-loads of wood. So, and that's going down. We just cut our production in half, and we're concerned about that relationship of what happens with that customer base. So we're anxious to see how this project goes to help save not a mill, but to save a community. If we take 110 jobs out of the town of Hewlett, of 400, you know what'll happen. It's going to be devastating. So we're putting our heart and soul into this and investing a lot of money, and the chief is investing. So we hope this pilot project works very well. We're anxious to see that work. One other thing, I spent 12 years from 2001 to 2013 on the Board of Trustees. Was the president for 2 years of the board. It was really a challenge and a blessing all at the same time. I'm still on the Ag Advisory and pushing to make sure our university, I'm working with getting the president up to Gillette. I thank you guys for all the support you've done to help separate the Gillette campus out, separate from from Sheridan. I really am excited to see what's going on at Gillette. There's 2 different cultures there. It's obvious saying that should happen. And I'm anxious to help make that work out. Also connecting and helping Gillette and connecting with both some of the South Dakota schools. I want to do what's best for the students. I have my loyalty at the University of Wyoming, but I'm not going to tell every student what to do. I just want to help provide a good education for the kids, a good conservative, from my perspective, this isn't going to happen, but a good faith-based foundation. That's my foundation. That's what I believe in, and that's what got me here. And our success of our company started after I recommitted my life and got rid of the alcohol. So I feel pretty blessed. But again, back to you guys, I want to say thanks. My daughter just joined the company a year ago. She's our public and community relations, and my son's vice president. So I'm blessed to have both of the kids involved. I committed to my dad we'd take it 2 more generations. So I'm committed to you guys that we are never, never, never going to quit. You might have heard that before. Thank you.
I will tell you, Nymans are the neighbor that every person wants. They have been as community-minded as you've ever seen. It's fun to watch them work in the businesses they do and what they've done. It's a pleasure working with them. Senator Case, do you need something? Okay. Do we have the Taiwanese here now? Still don't. All right. So Senator Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. President. Privilege of the floor for a minute.
Granted.
I'm sure Jim probably doesn't remember, but about 100 years ago, I went to school in Hewlett, and he was just a year older than me. So good to see you. So welcome to the Senate.
Senator Dockstader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wonder if Mr. Nyman would be interested in opening a branch office in Afton, Wyoming.
You know the funny story on that? Jim, you can come up and talk if you want. We're kind of informal for now, waiting on the House. We're losing sawmills everywhere, folks. You know, that's the part that breaks your heart is when you look at Colorado, he talks about with one major sawmill left, and you look at the forested acres in Colorado, and you look at the state of Wyoming with a tiny fraction of sawmills. Where has the world gone, folks? That's, you know, you folks helped me. We put $1 million into, and that's part of what they're up to here is a rewrite of a forest plan. And the Black Hills was the first timber sale in the United States. Jim would be able to tell you that. It was also the first grazing permit in the United States. And it is unbelievably important for us in our local communities. The state of Wyoming is based around federal ground, that we have a say in how that federal ground is managed going forward. You know, to have somebody from New York or California tell us how our forests and how our federal ground should be managed is no different than me telling them how to collect garbage in New York City or to gamble in Las Vegas. It just does not make sense. You need to have local input. Jim, go ahead.
Just a couple comments. Ed, I forgot that, so it's good to see you again. If there's enough wood, it takes a bigger sawmill and more production now to survive, particularly what species. You might get by on one shift or a super shift, but usually you need to go to 2 shift. We're always glad to evaluate an area if there's enough long-term timber supply there. My first evaluation would be to make sure we protect the small operations that are already in and around that. I've watched too many people come in and then forget about the small businesses that are already there. We were one of those small businesses when I got out of school with just a few employees, and I'd want to make sure we looked at how could we help enhance them, but if we did come in and do in an area that we didn't hurt them, we could help them. So that'd be an important part of the evaluation. That'd be important to me. In terms of the Black Hills, Ogden is right. It is the oldest managed forest in the United States. Very first timber sale, first grazing permit. It's been the model for years and years. Ironically, during the Clinton administration, when the spotted owls shut down 250 sawmills throughout the West, we were fortunate to get by because of all things. A friend at that time stepped up, I should associate, Tom Daschle, behind the scenes, stopped the Enviros from shutting down the Black Hills. But those young people that were put in office in the 90s now are towards their senior years, and this attack has come back. So they felt they lost. We felt we compromised and met in the middle, and they feel like they lost. So that is attack. They want to prove a point when they lost 20 years ago. So we want to do what's best. I committed the Forest Service. It's not about us just keeping a mill. We want to do what's best for the next generation. We want to look at what's the best for that forest to be a healthy, resilient forest in 10 years and 25 and 50, and not let the darn thing be ate up by bugs again and by major forest fires. That forest, when Teddy Roosevelt was there, had 1.5 billion board feet in 1999. 100 years later, that was in 1899. In 1999, the Black Hills had about 5.5 billion board feet. So 1.5 billion to 5.5. We have bugs and stuff, and it gets back down around, I'm going to give you general numbers, 4.5 billion board feet. They want to grow it back up to that 5.5 and we're going to create the same problem that we had. The Black Hills has integrated private lands throughout. It's the most integrated forest of its very mature mountain range. There's a lot of private land through it. We're going to lose cities and a lot of private land, and it's going to devastate the whole area if we let it get back here. So I just want to thank you again. Your support, what you guys appropriated, what Ogden referred to, what you guys have set aside is so important for us long-term to make sure we can keep the mills up there going. Well, we have to retool some, yes, but we got to make sure industry's there to help treat that forest. You got 500,000 acres of private land too that needs treated. If we go away, it's going to hurt the private land, all the ranchers. That's part of their income over years. The other one is the bighorns. We get some wood out of the bighorns. And I don't know if you're aware of it, but RY was out of Livingston, Montana, just announced their closing last week or week before. So the bighorns now just lost one of their tools to treat that forest. Unfortunately, a good part of that is roadless, and they won't touch it. So you can touch about 17% of the bighorns, which happened in the Clinton roadless rule, his last day of office, when he tied up 61 million acres of land nationwide. So that's I hope we can focus. That's the one forest I still have hope in, that we got to figure out how to get in there and save it before the bugs wipe it out. It's coming. We just don't know when. The bugs will know when the forest gets there. So anyway, my degree is in range management. So my passion is water and soil, but the real passion is let's create healthy forests. So I went off a little bit, Ogden. I hope that
We're
answered
good.
some-
We actually got time. We normally don't do this, but folks were kind of waiting on the House. They're doing their the other body. They're doing their normal deal. They're not through one bill yet through how we're doing this. So we're on the normal schedule. Actually what Jim is, he's not a forest person. He's a person that loves people and loves Wyoming. And for this body, I'm thankful to all of you. You know, we talk about the money we did towards the forest plan. Most of you weren't here. You managed to invest about $8 million of the state money in the Black Hills National Forest. It's probably the most misnamed national forest because almost every national forest is black in the United States, and the Black Hills is still green. And a huge part of that was due to the state of Wyoming stepping in, along with the state of South Dakota, and managing pine beetles. When you drive through the Bighorns, you go up in Senator Doc Stater's part of the country, there's vast swaths of dead trees. The Black Hills stayed green. So, all right, our next cruise here, we've got the Taiwanese here. Thank you, Jim, and I appreciate all you do. See you, Sonia. So, folks, we have, there he is. Welcome. Great honor. We're joined today by Daniel Chen, who is currently the Director General at Taipei Economic and Cultural Office in Seattle. As Director of the Seattle office, Mr. Chen works to strengthen regional economic, cultural, and educational ties between the United States and the Republic of China, Taiwan, in the Northwest region of the U.S. Please help me in welcoming General Chen to the Senate. You've got the mic and have the floor.
So, Honorable President Driscoll and Senators, good afternoon. I'm Daniel Chen, the Consul General of Taiwan in Seattle. People know us as the Taipei Economic and Cultural Office in Seattle, just like de facto Consul General. So, this is my second tour in this post. So back in the year 2003 to 2009, I also came over here in your beautiful city, Cheyenne, for many, many times. So this time, come back here, just make me feel like coming home. Thank you. So to begin, I'd like to ask you a question. Do you know that Taiwan is the 8th largest consumer of the United States agricultural products in the world? This means every Taiwanese is the second largest consumer of Wyoming beef, barley, corn, just behind Canada. So this is just one example of the ties, strong ties between Taiwan and Wyoming. So I'm so honored to be here today to express my gratitude to your support for this important partnership. So I want to start by talking about the Great Wyoming, for your passing the resolution just in a couple of weeks ago in support of Taiwan. So this resolution not only showcases the 40th anniversary of the sister state relationship, but also highlights the freedom-loving people of Taiwan and our determination to keep Taiwan free and democratic. With your support, we have more confidence to deal with the challenges posed by the other side of Taiwan Strait. Thank you for including your resolution of the support for a bilateral agreement, a bilateral trade agreement with Taiwan. Bilateral trade is in the interest to both sides, and I believe its necessity has been highlighted, especially during COVID-19. So we all are vulnerable to the dependence on unfriendly supply chain. 20 years ago, I was here exploring the possibility of Wyoming setting out office in Taipei. And today, I stand here in front of you reporting to you that the trade volume between Taiwan and Wyoming State increased by 97%, almost double last year. And we are ready to engage with Wyoming in areas such like blockchain technology, clean energy, small and medium enterprises incubation and culture, and so on. We also look forward to working with you on education exchanges for all the young people in your school and the University of Wyoming. So we admire your determination, safeguarding your academic freedom, and we are so glad to see the Black Butte High School, the students engaging with Taiwanese counterparts. So I believe education is the key to fostering mutual understanding and trade between our two sides. However, beyond trade and education, I firmly believe that it is our shared values that bond Taiwan and Wyoming the most. Thank you for supporting Wyoming and Taiwan relationship, which is based on freedom and democracy, as well as ensuring peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific region. Our neighbor, China, has a very low threshold of anger, so they tend to be upset about everything we do, including Taiwan's mere existence. So it's important that we work together to preserve Taiwan's democracy, not only for the people of Taiwan, but all the freedom-loving in the world. So Taiwan stands in the front line of confronting the Communist Party of China, and we face steady coercion on political, economical, and military levels. The States has always been very reliable friends and partner of Taiwan in these challenging times. So in conclusion, we have a lot of work to do, but I'm heartened by the strong enthusiasm of the Wyoming State Legislature for this meaningful partnership. On behalf of the people of Taiwan and the government of Taiwan, I thank Wyoming for continuing supporting Taiwan, and I guarantee you that Taiwan will always be a reliable partner of the United States and a force of good in the world. Thank you so much. Thank you, Wyoming.
Here, here. Thank you again. Sister country, great fun. So, signing of enrolled acts, we're back to excitement. Senate Enrolled Act number 73, originally Senate File 154.
Senate Enrolled Act Number 73 being original Senate File 154, of an act relating to the Wyoming Energy Authority, amending the purposes of the Wyoming Energy Authority to include the construction and expansion of oil and gas refineries in Wyoming.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 73, originally being Senate File 154. I have so signed. Senate Enrolled Act 74, originally being Senate File 108.
Senate Enrolled Act Number 74, being original Senate File 108, an act relating to courts requiring fees for transcripts, records, and other papers issued by a court reporter to be set by rule of the District Court Judicial Conference.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act Number 74, originally Senate File 108. I have so signed. Senate Enrolled Act Number 75, originally Senate File 112.
Senate Enrolled Act Number 75, being original Senate File 112, an act relating to labor and employment, providing for the confidentiality of communications with peer support specialists as specified.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act Number 75, originally Senate File 112. I have so signed. Senate Enrolled Joint Resolution Number 2, originally being Senate Joint Resolution Number 5.
Senate Enrolled Joint Resolution Number 2, being original Senate Joint Resolution 5, a joint resolution to recognize and congratulate the United States Air Force on the 75th anniversary of its founding.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Joint Resolution Number 2, originally being Senate Joint Resolution Number 5. I have so signed. Do we have any reports to read in? Wait. Messages from the House.
From the House of Representatives, February 28, 2023. Message number 469, concurrence passed. Mr. President, the House did concur on Senate amendments to House Bill 89, State Investment Returns Adequate Reserve Funding. Ayes 50, noes 9, excused 3. Message number 470, concurrence requested. Mr. President, Senate File 80, visitation rights, passed on third reading in an amended form by the votes indicated. Ayes 56, noes 2, excused 4. The House respectfully asks the Senate to concur by adopting amendments. Message number 471, concurrence requested. Mr. President, Senate File 83, K-12 school facility leasing, passed on third reading in an amended form. Ayes 58, excused 4. The House respectfully asks the Senate to concur by adopting amendments. Message number 475, concurrence requested. Mr. President, Senate File 131, prohibition on delivery of unsolicited ballot forms, passed on third reading in an amended form. Ayes 54, noes 5, excused 3. The House respectfully asks the Senate to concur by adopting amendments. Message number 472. Mr. President, the following bills passed the House on third reading by the votes indicated. Senate File 108, Court Reporter Fees, District Court Discretion. Ayes 46, noes 12, excused 4. Message number 473, Senate File 112, Peer Support Counseling Confidentiality. Ayes 58, noes 1, excused 3. Message number 474, Senate Joint Resolution 5, Air Force 75th Anniversary. Ayes 59, excused 3. Signed, Katie Talbot, House Chief Clerk.
Thanks, Randy. Concurrence requested. Senator Rothfuss, are you ready on message number 471 on Senate File 83?
Yes, I am, Mr. President.
Reading clerk, read it in, please.
Message number 471, referencing Senate File 83, K-12 school facility leasing.
Senator Rothfuss.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move for the adoption of message numbers 471, requesting concurrence on Senate File number 83, K-12 school facility leasing, and ask the body to vote aye. Mr. President, there was one amendment put on in the House that was actually an amendment that was provided at request of the good President of the Senate, and I worked with the President and members of the folks on the other side of the building to provide an amendment that was adopted in the Standing Committee that does just a couple of things. One is it provides a mechanism whereby a school district that has a leased facility, in particular, a leased facility for a charter school under consideration, to investigate the availability of any school buildings within the district's existing fleet of school buildings as to whether space is available. That space would have to be compliant space, which means that the space would have to both exist in the fleet and be available and adequate pursuant to existing law. Mr. President, that's already in statute, but there's no real mechanism for appealing to the school facilities department to make the request. This provides, as you see on page 2, a mechanism whereby a charter school board could make that request to the school facilities department for a judgment as to whether there is availability and suitability of space. That's the only amendment made. It's a good amendment. It improves the bill. With that, I'd ask for your aye vote.
Motion is the Senate, discussion, I guess, before I get too carried away. Motion is the Senate do concur on message 471 on Senate File 83 and vote aye. Chief Clerk will call the roll. It was a great amendment, by the way.
Concurrence vote on Senate File 83. Anderson? Aye. Baldwin? Aye. Barlow? Aye. Beitman? Aye. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? Aye. Brennan? Aye. Case? Aye. Cooper? Aye. Dockstetter? Aye. Ellis? Aye. French? Aye. Furphy? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? Aye. Ide? Aye. Jones? Aye. Kinsky? Aye. Cole? Aye. Landon? Aye. Larson? Aye. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. President Driscoll?
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 83, 31 aye.
By your vote, you have concurred on Senate File 83. Senator Hutchings, are you ready on message number 475 on Senate File 131E? Can we have it read in, please?
Message number 475, referencing Senate File 131, prohibition on delivery of unsolicited ballot forms.
Senator Hutchings.
Mr. Chairman, I move concurrence on message 475 and urge you to vote aye. Senate File 131 is a prohibition on the delivery of unsolicited absentee ballot forms. And one of the most amazing things that happened with this bill, it was over in the House for quite some time. And I guess that was a good thing because it was amended 7 times, lucky 7, and they amended it back to its original form. So I urge the body to vote aye. Thank you very much.
Motion is the Senate do concur on, Senator Case, excuse me. My
Mr. President,
apologies.
there was a speech here earlier about how the Senate Corporations Committee worked so hard to improve this bill with the amendments and make it a better bill. I remember that speech very well. It was a fine moment of solidarity. And apparently that moment has passed, Mr. President. But in passing of that moment, I would ask us to vote no.
Any further comments? Senator Rothfuss.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. And I'm also concerned with the final language that appears to have come on during the third reading amendment, which does not read to me as the original language of the legislation. And honestly, I'm a little uncertain as to what it does with the third reading amendment, which seems to preclude anyone providing any help, for example, for somebody who's elderly that's trying to have someone else help them get a ballot. I'm not sure. It may do that, it may not do that, but when I read the language, I guess it either does something bad or it doesn't do anything, and I don't know which one of those is the case. So perhaps a little more discussion. What does that third reading amendment that was just put on do as opposed to what the bill did when it left this chamber, which I still had some concerns with, but I think I'm more concerned now, Mr. President.
Senator Hutchins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll offer the good senator from Laramie a third option. It does something good. It put the bill back to its original form. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, I urge the body to vote aye.
Motion is the Senate do concur on message 475 on Senate File 131E. I'm not sure what the E is, but, and vote aye. Engrossed, thank you. And vote aye. Chief Clerk will call the roll. Now I've learned another new thing. Thank you, Ellen.
Senate File 131, concurrence vote. Anderson? Aye. Baldwin? Aye. Barlow? No. Beitman? Aye. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? Aye. Brennan? Aye. Case? No. Cooper? No. Dockstetter? Ellis? No. French? Aye. Furphy? Aye. Guru? No. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? Aye. Ide? Aye. Jones? Aye. Kinski? Aye. Cole? Aye. Landon? No. Larson? Aye. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott? No. Pappas? No. Rothfuss? No. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? No. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. President Driscoll?
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. I beg your pardon, Dockstetter.
Excused.
Excused. Thank you. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 131, 20 aye, 10 no, 1 excused.
By your vote, you have concurred on Senate File 131 engrossed. Senator McEwen, are you ready on message number 470 on Senate File 80?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Message number 470, referencing Senate File 80, visitation rights.
Senator McEwen.
I would move to adopt message number 470 to Senate File 80, visitation rights. Basically, it had one amendment put in it, and it actually did make the bill better, where we had listed out hospitals, nursing homes, et cetera, for facilities. That language was struck, and we used the definition of Wyoming Statute 35-2-901. What that did is actually open it up to even more facilities. So it really did make the bill quite a bit better, and I would ask for your concurrence. Thank you, Mr. President.
Further discussion? Seeing none. Motion is the Senate do concur on message 470 on Senate File 80 and vote aye. Chief Clerk will call the roll.
Senate File 80, concurrence roll call. Anderson? Aye. Baldwin? Aye. Barlow? Aye. Beitman? Aye. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? Aye. Brennan? Aye. Case? Aye. Cooper? Aye. Dockstetter excused. Ellis? Aye. French? Aye. Furphy? Aye. Guru? No. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? Aye. Ide? Aye. Jones? Aye. Kinski? Aye. Kolb? Aye. Landon? Aye. Larson? Aye. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. President Driscoll?
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 80, 29 aye, 1 no, 1 excused.
By your vote, you have concurred on Senate File 80. Senator McCune, is that your first bill you've passed? Congratulations. Where we at, Ellen? Do we have anything? We'll stand at ease to the sound of the gavel. We're going to give the House a few minutes, see if they can get, I think they'll break 3 bills loose if they can get through some amendments, but we'll let the other side have it, so we'll stand at ease to the sound of the gavel. All right, we only have so much patience. We're back in, our patience is worn out. So I'll read a little statement. Help us help you. Time together is quickly coming to an end. Is this the last planned week of session preparing to close business? To this end, please make note of the following. Please remove everything from the top of your desk so the chamber appears clean for the visitors during the interim. Affy, that means you clean my desk up for me. Plan to take all personal items home and empty your mailbox. By the way, folks, she has kept my desk clean for me all session. I owe her. If you need a box for your items, they'll provide one for you. Please let the pages know and they'll deliver to your desk. Recycle bins will be positioned in the hallways. Session staff's available to assist you. Please let them know. There's boxes in leadership office and Don's, recycling bin in the copy room. So that gets us through that. Folks, they're still moving pretty slow. We think we'll go home. Senator Landon?
Mr. President, thank you. Privilege of the floor.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you clean off your desk, if you happen to run across volume 1 of the green books, it might be mine. Sometimes we trade them and they just don't get back where they're supposed to be. And so keep an eye out for a stray chapter 1. Thank you very much.
Ever occur to you they didn't want you to have those titles to look at?
It just happens to be some of the statutes we'll be dealing with on the Judiciary Committee. So thank you very much.
Very good. Senator Hicks?
He found it.
It's all right, the 20 pages you needed are gone. Senator Hicks?
Mr. President, I move the Senate stand adjourn until 10 a.m. March 1st.
Any announcements? Senator Scott?
Mr. President, the Conference Committee on House Bill 33, we're hoping to meet on adjournment tomorrow, probably in room 113 downstairs, but stand by for further announcement on that tomorrow, but probably on adjournment tomorrow.
Thank you. Senator Kinski?
Mr. President, your Appropriations Committee, Committee Number 2, on Thursday, March 2nd, upon noon recess, we'll meet in room E301 to discuss interim topics with our colleagues from the House Appropriations Committee.
Senator Steinmetz?
Thank you, Mr. President. Our Conference Committee on House Bill 93 and Senate File 96, which are the Omnibus Water Bill Construction and Omnibus Water Bill Planning and Administration, will meet tomorrow at 12:30 in one of the rooms downstairs, whichever ones we could reserve. That will be announced tomorrow.
Senator Boner?
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Joint Conference Committee for House Bill 144 will meet upon adjournment today in W110 and online.
Senator Ellis?
Thank you, Mr. President. Select Committee on Tribal Relations will meet tomorrow morning at 8:30 in EO5. Anyone's welcome.
Any further announcements? Senator Scott? For your second
Mr. President,
time.
your Committee Number 4, Education, will meet with our counterparts from the House tomorrow morning downstairs in room 110. I believe the meeting time is 8:30.
Further announcements? Seeing none. One second. Hang on. Senator Case?
Mr. President, your Committee Number 7, Corporations, will meet tomorrow to discuss interim topics. I think we're in the regular room, but I may be wrong, and I apologize for not knowing the room. We're in E005, Mr.
Equal
President.
opportunity. Okay, Senator Landon.
Mr. President, just a quick announcement for fellow senators. We will have some folks here from a group we are working with on the Wayfinding and Exhibit Committee. This particular trip for them is to come out and get a better feel from all of us as to what sorts of signage and wayfinding and where and how to put it. So if you get stopped by somebody that you don't recognize, it might be them just reaching out to all of you to discuss any concerns you might have with how we get from here to some other place. in the Capitol complex. And so just wanted to let everyone know that those folks will be around the next couple of days. Thank you.
Great. So, and the bill collector's here. Those of you who haven't paid the courtesy fund, make sure you get your checks in or they'll poison your food tomorrow. Anybody that has kept their old laptops, if you haven't paid for them, they need to be paid for by Friday to Heather in the main LSO office. So if you haven't done that, they'll come repossess your new ones. So make sure you pay for them. You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. That was a weak aye. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Senate will stand adjourned till 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, March 1st.